Talking about his origins, I have to also underline the impact of his family, especially his mother and his father, because both of his parents were talented and were somehow interested in art. His father was a soldier initially, and then after the First World War, he became geodeta in Polish. We say you have to translate it. Mm-hmm. And his father was also pioneer of sport in Sanok. For example, he started first tennis courts in Sanok, private tennis courts. So he wanted his son to become strong and like manhood was really important for him. As a mature man, he did not really demonstrate any love towards the art. In contrast, he did not really like his son to go on with art. He discouraged him to study in Polish Film Academy. This attitude was connected with his approach to architecture. He was rejected from architecture because someone said that his drawings were not good enough. So this disappointment led him to some kind of dislike towards the art.
What about his mother? What was his relationships and what kind of person his mother was?
His mother was actually the one that knew that she would raise a famous artist. We cannot really explain why, but somehow she was led by that strange intuition, and for that reason she started collecting his early works. Over here we can see works of not even 2 years old Beksiński, Mammy and Daddy, and some vehicle as well, and she would collect them, place them in the notebooks, creating some kind of primal archive of his works. She also encouraged him to exercise as a piano player. She wanted him to become a musician, but after some incident when he lost parts of his fingers, he wouldn't have to go on with music and he could only focus on art. So this is his mother. She was actually the one that surrounded him with the biographies of famous artists and albums of art. So she played significant role in his artistic development. When we say about his parents, we have to say it was family that surrounded the son with love, yet Beksiński somehow later recalled that he loved his father a bit more. His father died during Beksiński's studies, while his mother, she was later in 70s or 80s actually, took to Warsaw, where she would spend the rest of her life surrounded with love and care of her son and of his wife.
Inspiruje się Pan obrazami jakimiś czy z historii sztuki, czy może współczesnymi?
Nie, raczej nie. Ja w ogóle nie lubię oglądać albumów z obrazami, ani w ogóle oglądać wystaw. Zresztą powody są dość dziwne tego. Mianowicie jak obejrzę dobry obraz, to jestem właściwie zły, że sam go nie namalowałem, a ponieważ z reguły w albumach takich są obrazy dobre, więc raczej tego nie oglądam. A wystaw po prostu nie oglądam chyba z racji tej, że wystawa jako przedsięwzięcie jest dla mnie czymś niesłychanie przykrym. Wydaje mi się, że wśród tych obrazów wiszących na ścianach gdzieś tam siedzi malarz. Panuje cisza, tak jak w kościele, albo gdy się przychodzi odwiedzać zwłoki. Wchodzę tam, ściszam głos, myślę, jeżeli malarz na mnie patrzy, to będzie mu przykro, jeśli nie będę stał przed każdym obrazem dłużej. Wobec tego stoję, czuję, że się męczę coraz bardziej. Myślę, kiedy ja wreszcie stąd wyjdę i wychodzę.
Things in here that we can see, they are original, yeah?
Every single thing, every element is original. It was taken away from a Warsaw apartment after the tragic death of Beksiński, and the idea was to show the atmosphere of the workshop of the studio of Beksiński in Warsaw. We have to remember that Beksiński in 80s or in 90s was really well off, and he could afford to create something much more elegant, but he did not really care. The only thing that mattered to him was to create constantly. So he wouldn't like to make any breaks for any works, technical works. And what makes it even more interesting is the fact that Beksiński did not really care about any luxuries. It's just like technically important for him, so it's equipped with many electronic equipment, with collection of CDs, because music would play a significant role in his life and in his art, because daily he would listen sometimes for the music for 12 or 14 even hours, and it would stimulate him to work. Not only lover of music but also connoisseur. And this is the collection, of course, of cameras. As I said, from the childhood he was fascinated completely with cameras, so for all of his life he would collect the brand new cameras, and it gave him a lot of joy, a lot of fun to get known with this equipment, to play with it. Yet we have to remember it did not serve him in 70s, 80s or 90s to create artistic photography. It rather served him to archive his works, to make photos of his works.
And you said that this is
original jacket of Beksiński, yeah. And he didn't really care about dressing code. And this is the most important element. That's the thing that shows something really important. I mean, after his son's death, and Tomek died in 1999, he committed suicide on Christmas Eve of 1999. And after the death of his wife, she actually passed away a year before the death of her son. Beksiński was finally left on his own, without any heirs, without any close family. So he started thinking about his output, where should he place it. And eventually, in 2001, as you can see, he wrote a last will, a testament, in which he decided that he would give everything after his death, that everything should be given to the Historical Museum in Sanok, under one condition. He wanted us to secure the works and to create a constant gallery that would allow to show as much as possible and as good as possible.
Muzyka. Pańska płytoteka jest ogromna. Jaką muzykę lubi Pan najbardziej?
Muzyka, wie Pani, no, akurat nie, trudno powiedzieć, że to jest druga pasja. Po prostu muzyka to jest przyjemność, to jest coś takiego, co łączę z malowaniem obrazu i słuchanie muzyki, picie kawy i malowanie obrazów. To jest taki nierozłączny syndrom, który po prostu nie wiem dlaczego już tak właśnie taką formę przyjął, ale już zmienić tego nie potrafię. Jeśli nie ma muzyki, ku zgrozie chyba sąsiadów zagłuszam nieustannie. Znaczy bezustannie jest, przez 14 godzin dziennie, jak maluję, czasem przez 12, nieustannie głośno ciszej leci muzyka. Trudno właściwie być nieustannie z słuchawkami na uszach. Także mam słuchawki i czasami włączam, ale to po pewnym czasie jest po prostu męczące. I ja po prostu nie potrafię malować, jeżeli muzyka nie gra z tyłu. Samo jak nie potrafię malować, jeżeli nie robię sobie co jakiś czas neski, nie wypijam, której zresztą nie lubię, ale muzykę lubię.
How does it make you feel to be here, like being inside of all this artworks of Beksiński.
I came here for the very first time with my fiancée. She's originally from Sanok and she brought me here, and so she took me here to the castle to show me Beksiński. And once I saw it, I was completely touched, and after 13 years of working here, I am still always touched when I come inside those chambers, because some works, they have so incredible strength, he has potential to touch you, to move you, that they wouldn't leave you without some feelings. They will always work that way, and that's the magic of Beksiński's art,
I
actually.
think this is what he wanted, you know.
Exactly, that is exactly something that he wanted to achieve.
I remember one of his quotes. He said that, "I don't want my artworks to be understood. I want them to be felt."
Exactly. He wanted it to move us, to touch us as much as possible. And he didn't want to comment anything. And asked about it, he said, "I do not have anything important to say. I am completely constructed from doubts. I have nothing to say." He didn't want to impose any message on the viewer. He didn't like to put any association on the painting. It's just only up to us. We can take out whatever we want, draw out from the painting whatever we need. It's, as we said, mainly about evoking the emotion. But you asked about the titles, and there's one exception, and we're actually standing next to the painting, which is unique, absolutely unique, because we only know 2 or 3 paintings which has something like titles. This has official title, and what makes it even more interesting is the fact that it was the very first work bought by the museum in Sanok here from Beksiński's collection. And in the corner in here we can see some of the finest works of him, those that shows something called fantasy period that lasted between late 60s and early 80s, so especially the cathedral. That's really famous painting, one of the most famous, but myself, I also like and love that painting, which is like the Valley of Dark. We have to say Beksiński was an erudite. He knew the Bible by heart, and especially the David's Psalm with the Valley of Dark would play a significant role for him. And this is something really special. That's the painting that we often use as a symbol of the Museum of Sanok. When he finished the work, he was not really satisfied with this. We have to say Beksiński was often unsatisfied with his works, and just later, after a few weeks, months, sometimes even longer period, he realized that it was really good and it was really nice. But when we go to another part of the chamber, we can see how it's changing. No longer we do have any landscapes. They are replaced now with the figures of human or humanoid figures. It's better to say destroyed, painful, or sometimes also deformed. Beksiński, when he was asked about those paintings, he was saying that it's something of, in a way, of self-portraits, internal self-portraits of him, so it's really interesting. He was a very dynamic artist. He would never stick to one style, to one way of painting. He would always look for something else, for another means of expression. This is the special one, because that's the last painting finished just only a few hours before Beksiński's death. He managed to send an email to his friend saying that he just finished nice painting, he was satisfied with the work, and you can see the cross inside and the struck fabric. So it altogether gives another impression of like foretelling the end. The end is coming.
Nie, absolutnie nie. Ja od siebie nie lubię nic mówić.